Beyond the Gates spoilers update for Monday, June 23rd will bring a major shift in the balance of power in the Thomas-Richardson relationship as Eva Thomas stands on the brink of a shocking revelation. Throughout the hush-hush corridors of the Richardson estate, whispered rumors suggest that Eva's latent abilities will ignite from an utterly unforeseen source, one neither Ted Richardson nor Tom Navarro ever anticipated. In the candlelit hush of her private study, Eva pores over dog-eared journals and cryptic family letters, each page hinting that her strength might derive not from her own lineage, but from a hidden artifact tied to her mother's earliest days. The air vibrates with anticipation as she senses that, when the true catalyst emerges, every bond she's formed, every secret she's uncovered, will shift like tectonic plates underfoot. All eyes turn to Eva's faint smile as she rises from her desk at dawn, determined to harness what destiny has long withheld from her grasp. Ted Richardson finds himself both guardian and skeptic, torn between pride in Eva's burgeoning self-belief and dread of what powers beyond his comprehension may unleash. He shadows her from a discreet distance, recalling the day he first met his niece as a hopeful infant, her innocent laughter echoing through the halls of their ancestral home like a clarion call. Now that laughter seems charged with prophecy. Similarly, Tom Navarro hovers on the periphery, once a streetwise ally who rescued Eva from certain danger. His loyalty has never wavered, yet concern etches deep lines across his face. He knows that when Eva's mysterious endowment finally surfaces, it could either forge an unbreakable alliance between the Thomas and Navarro clans or shatter them irreparably. As Eva steels herself, Ted and Tom exchange furtive glances. Each wonders whether the power Eva seeks is a blessing or a curse, and whether they will fall to her side or be crushed beneath the weight of her destiny. Meanwhile, across the manicured lawns and stately columns of the Richardson estate, Bill Richardson braces for a confrontation that threatens to eclipse every quarrel he's ever had with his ex-wife, Danny Dupree. His unease isn't rooted in Danny's fiery temperament, nor in their bitter divorce that once splintered the family's public image. It lies squarely in the glare of Danny's father, Vernon Dupree, now mobilized to target Bill in retribution for a decades-old indiscretion. Bill recalls the day he first met Vernon, a towering, formidable presence whose approval had once sanctified Bill's marriage. Now that reverence has curdled into something far more dangerous, daylight fury. Vernon's crimson face appears in Bill's nightmares, a living embodiment of judgment ready to strike. Bill trembles at the thought that Vernon, in discovering the depths of Martin Richardson's secret, has seized the moral high ground. With Martin's clandestine misdeeds on the brink of exposure, Vernon sees an opening to demand that Bill atone for every failure of oversight, every moment he allowed the Richardson name to tarnish. The very thought that this showdown could erupt in the public square, hushed whispers in courtrooms, scandal-hungry headlines, sends a cold sweat down Bill's spine. As evening descends, the estate's grand foyer echoes with the soft tap of polished shoes and the rustle of tailored suits. Vernon, eyes like burning coals, corners Bill under the grand chandelier's flickering glow. The air crackles as Vernon's voice, dripping with righteous anger, accuses Bill of betraying not only the family but the unspoken pact of trust that governed every Richardson guarantee. Bill, shoulders hunched against the weight of impending scandal, stammers out a defense, but Vernon's cross-examination is relentless. He brandishes fragments of evidence concerning Martin's enigmatic past, a fraud allegation here, an unexplained transaction there, each revelation deepening Bill's sense of despair. The charge rings out like thunder. Bill had squandered the chance to quash a looming catastrophe when he should have intervened. Now, with Martin's secret teetering on the lip of oblivion, Vernon vows to see Bill held fully accountable, to demand restitution, and perhaps to redefine the entire power structure of the family empire. Meanwhile, back in the ornate drawing room, Leslie Thomas plots her own gambit. Long dismissed as the conciliatory peacekeeper between her daughter Eva and the broader clan, Leslie has grown weary of playing second fiddle. Tonight, she proposes something audacious. She will enlist Catherine, Kat Richardson, and Jacob Hawthorne in a covert mission to gather incriminating proof that ties Leslie to Laura Peterson's mysterious car accident. Laura's life, irrevocably altered by that crash, has become shrouded in half-truths and label-worthy tragedies. Leslie's voice, equal parts honey and steel, outlines her pitch. Kat's forensic acumen, honed by years of investigative journalism, and Jacob's legal finesse, sharpened through courtroom victories, will make them the perfect duo to unearth internal police reports, eyewitness statements, and digital footprints pointing back to Leslie. In exchange, she pledges to secure for them exclusive rights to an upcoming book project, one that promises to immortalize Kat's career and line Jacob's pockets with lucrative film deals. As Leslie lays out her terms, Kat's eyes narrow with intrigue, while Jacob's jaw clenches in cautious calculation. The air hums with the implicit question, can they trust a mother whose hands might be stained with guilt? As murmurs of Leslie's schemes spread among the estate's inner circle, whispers also swirl about who in the family will stand by Leslie or turn their backs. Andre Richardson and Martin are conspicuously absent from the list of co-conspirators, their names hushed beneath the weight of suspicion. Yet other branches of the extended kin network, notably cousins Chelsea Hamilton and Naomi Hamilton, are stirring. Chelsea, the social media influencer turned investigative blogger, sees in Leslie's plan a chance to resurrect her own faltering relevance. Naomi, a rising star in philanthropic circles, perceives a moral imperative. If Leslie can reveal deeper truths about Laura's accident roots that might absolve or condemn her, Naomi wants to be part of that reckoning. Their potential alignment with Leslie sends ripples through Kat's mind. Will these Hamilton cousins become allies in her quest for clarity, or liabilities, eager for sensational headlines that could destroy reputations? The burden of choice presses on Kat's shoulders as she weighs ambition against ethics, loyalty against the thirst for justice. While Kat and Jacob deliberate, Eva withdraws to the greenhouse pavilion on the estate grounds, where the scent of night-blooming jasmine mingles with the stillness of moonlit glass. Her thoughts drift toward the conversation she's been avoiding, Vernon's expected rapprochement with Madison Dupree, Danny's daughter, whose very lineage has been a closely guarded secret. When Vernon told Eva that he'd learned Madison's mother wasn't who everyone assumed, Eva braced for scandal, but the truth shattered every expectation. Madison's mother, as Vernon revealed with a tremor of disbelief, is none other than Susan Richardson, Bill's late sister, whose existence Danny Dupree had concealed in a desperate bid to protect her own child. The implications cascade through Eva's mind. Madison, raised to believe herself an outsider to this storied bloodline, is in fact a hidden Richardson heir. As the reality sinks in, Eva feels a surge of sympathetic protectiveness for Madison, even as she senses the chaos this revelation will unleash. Compelled by the thought that Madison stands at the crossroads of identity and inheritance, Eva vows to meet her cousin in private, to extend a hand of welcome before the gathering storm arrives. Night deepens and shadows stretch across the polished floors of the Richardson estate. In her private chambers, Kat Richardson stares at the dossier Leslie has compiled: scanned police blotters, partially redacted witness interviews, grainy traffic camera stills that may or may not implicate Leslie in Laura Peterson's crash. Each page sings a siren song of scandal, promising to shift public sympathy and courtroom momentum in unexpected directions. Kat's mind races with questions. Why has Leslie waited until now to unleash these records? What hidden leverage does she truly possess over those in power? And what will Jacob demand in return for his cooperation? She imagines the headlines, Richardson matriarch ensnared in cover-up, and shudders at the prospect of her own family's name besmirched. Yet beneath her caution, a spark of excitement flickers. By exposing layers of deception, Kat might finally claim her rightful place in the family narrative, transforming her from sidelined observer into a force to be reckoned with. In the hush before dawn, Eva Thomas emerges from the greenhouse, her resolve set like iron. Ted and Tom stand below, awaiting her decision. Ted's face is pale, as if he has aged decades in the space of a single evening. Tom's posture is protective, his jaw firm with unspoken concern. As Eva recounts Vernon's revelation about Madison, the three exchange glances that speak volumes. This family's secrets no longer respect the barriers of blood or marriage. Eva's newly discovered power, whatever its source, will now intermingle with this earthbound drama of paternity, betrayal, and ambition. Beneath the estate's illuminated windows, they form an unspoken pact to navigate this labyrinth of half-truths together, to shield the innocent, and to expose the guilty wherever they may hide. Elsewhere, Bill slinks through the estate's servant passages, desperate for an ally to vouch for his integrity before Vernon's tempest blows beyond containment. He contemplates approaching Chelsea or Naomi, hoping their fresh perspectives on the family might incline them toward mercy. But he hesitates, knowing any outreach could be misconstrued as manipulation. Instead, he skulks to the library, where Martin's old case files line oak shelves like silent judges. There, he pores over yellowed documents, seeking any fragment that could exonerate him from Vernon's wrath. Yet every paper seems to deepen the quagmire, dredging up half-forgotten scandals involving Martin's business dealings and alliances that Bill, as CEO, had once authorized. The realization lands like a physical blow. He may lack the evidence to defend himself, but the more he digs, the more he uncovers and the more he risks unleashing a scandal greater than Vernon's wrath alone. As dawn breaks over the Vernon Richardson grounds, the spider web of alliances, betrayals, and secrets stretches taut. Eva's power hovers on the brink of revelation. Leslie's proposal dangles before Kat and Jacob's ambition. Bill braces for Vernon's public reckoning, and the hidden lineage of Madison Dupree threatens to upend every family dynamic. The stage is set for an epic clash of wills, loyalties, and long-buried truths. And as the first rays of sunlight flood the hallways, each player Eva, Ted, Tom, Kat, Jacob, Leslie, Bill, Vernon, Chelsea, Naomi, and Madison steels themselves for the trials to come, unaware of how deeply their lives will intertwine when the gates finally swing wide open. As dawn's first pale light filters through the east-facing windows of the Richardson estate, the reverberations of yesterday's revelations still thrum beneath every polished surface. In the hush before the household awakens, Eva Thomas retreats to the library's secluded alcove, where the scent of aged leather and mahogany soothes her racing heart. The knowledge of Madison Dupree's true parentage, her own cousin, hidden in plain sight, laces Eva's thoughts with both tenderness and trepidation. She summons pen and journal, determined to chart the course ahead. With each careful stroke, she resolves that, when she next meets Madison, every word must be laced with compassion, not accusation. The harvest gold parchment before her will bear witness to the promises she intends to make, to protect Madison's identity, to guide her through the tempest of public scrutiny, and to stand opposed to anyone who dares exploit her newfound status. Eva's solitude is broken by the soft click of Tom Navarro's boots on the Persian rug. He comes bearing 2 steaming mugs of herbal tea, jasmine for her nerves, chamomile to steady her mind. Without speaking, he slides one across to her, his dark eyes alight with concern. Eva offers him a tentative smile, then invites him to sit. She recounts Vernon Dupree's disclosure about Madison, her voice low but resolute. Tom listens, fingers around the warm mug, nodding as Eva outlines her plan to seek out Madison privately. He agrees readily. They will find Madison before the rest of the household, accompany her to the city's medical center where the charge nurse has agreed to release her birth records under Eva's guardianship and orchestrate her first meeting with Ted. His steady presence offers Eva conviction that no matter how chaotic the storm, she will not face it alone. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the sprawling estate, Leslie Thomas convenes a clandestine meeting in her sumptuous drawing room. The stained glass windows paint kaleidoscopic patterns on the marble floor, but Leslie's gaze is steely, focused. Kat Richardson and Jacob Hawthorne recline on silken settees, their expressions shifting between eagerness and caution. Leslie resumes her pitch, emphasizing the gravity of linking Laura Peterson's accident to a calculated sabotage rather than mere tragedy. She slides across a digital tablet displaying forensic analysis deceleration force calculations, tire tread imprints, and a pattern of mechanical tampering discovered by a retired engineer friend. Leslie ventures that if Kat can corroborate the data with official crash reports, and if Jacob can secure sworn affidavits from witness interviews she has already recorded off the record, they will hold conclusive evidence implicating herself in concealing a staged collision. Then, in hushed tones, she reiterates her offer: exclusive publishing rights to Kat's exposé on the Peterson crash, complete with full creative control, and a sizable retainer to Jacob's legal practice for spearheading subsequent litigation. Kat's fingers drum on the armrest as she pores over the tablet's contents. The sheer weight of this information could topple reputations, alter inheritance lines, and rewrite the family's public narrative. She recalls the countless hours she spent chasing stories that were silently archived, dismissed, or buried. Now, at last, the breakthrough beckons, but at what cost? Jacob leans forward, voice measured. If we proceed, we need airtight cross-referencing. We'll require access to the police department's original accident report, chain of custody logs for evidence, and permission to interview Laura's surviving family under non-disclosure. Leslie's smile is thin but unmistakable. She's anticipated every stipulation. In one fluid motion, she taps her phone, and a hush falls as a middle-aged man in a tailored suit, the former deputy chief of the unnamed municipal police force, steps into the room. He carries a manila folder stamped confidential. Leslie gestures him forward. I believe you'll find everything you need right here. As Kat and Jacob exchange glances, the door opens to admit Chelsea Hamilton and Naomi Hamilton. Chelsea's camera bag slings at her hip. Naomi's tablet brims with draft proposals for a philanthropic gala. Both cousins step lightly into the swirl of intrigue. Leslie greets them with warmth, yet every word is measured. She invites Chelsea to document the investigative process through her social channels, promising exclusive behind-the-scenes access for her fading influencer platform. To Naomi, she offers a seat on her foundation's board if the outcome of Kat and Jacob's probe exonerates her from any malicious intent. Chelsea's eyes sparkle at the prospect of a viral scoop. Naomi's brow furrows as she weighs moral imperatives against opportunity. The room tightens with silent understanding. Each stands to gain much, but also risks complicity in a mother's covert gambit. While that conclave unfolds, Bill Richardson prowls the estate's northern wing, his thoughts a tempest of guilt and desperation. Vernon Dupree's condemnation still echoes in his mind, and the specter of public disgrace looms ever closer. Bill's sole hope now lies in retreating to the estate archives, a labyrinth of microfiche reels and dusty binders detailing decades of Richardson enterprises. Last night's fevered search yielded only fragments: invoices listing unorthodox consulting fees for Martin's shell company, letters hinting at hush-money payments, and cryptic bank transfers through offshore accounts. Each document felt like a trap. Validate one, and you expose another. Bill now resolves on a new strategy: to find a statute of limitations technicality or a jurisdictional loophole that might render Martin's deepest secrets legally obsolete. He slips into the archive room, past its creaking door, and begins the feverish hunt. Back in the library, Ted Richardson pores over an antique atlas, plotting a route through the city's hospital corridors to reach Madison's medical records office. He knows the legal fine print. Eva's temporary guardianship letter will grant her access, but only if submitted precisely at the clerk's window before closing time. He sketches a timetable on a scrap of stationary accounting for lunch hour lulls, security checkpoints, and the potential appearance of Vernon or Danny Dupree. His brow furrows with conflicted thoughts. To shield Madison is noble, yet circumventing Vernon's direct oversight could ignite his ire. But every second wasted costs Madison vital clarity about her identity. Ted resolves to enlist Tom Navarro as driver and protective escort. Tom's reputation in the city's underground networks will dissuade any official from questioning their authority. Meanwhile, Kat Richardson, Chelsea Hamilton, Jacob Hawthorne, and Naomi Hamilton assemble around the crystal-topped conference table in the estate's West Wing. Stacks of documents, digital tablets, and recording devices form a mosaic of ambition and suspicion. Kat, ever the skeptic, insists on an immediate trip to the city's evidence depository to cross-verify Leslie's dossier against original case files. Naomi inquires whether concurrent press leaks might compromise legal negotiations, while Jacob underscores the need for a sealed court order before any data transfer. Chelsea, impatient for content, pleads for ad hoc snapshots of key pages for her Instagram breaking story. Kat raises an eyebrow. Only once we have hack-proof copies and witness statements. Naomi nods in approval, but Chelsea tuts, we're losing momentum. At that precise moment, Kat's phone chimes, an encrypted message from the municipal records officer, confirming that a sealed search warrant will be granted but only if Leslie herself signs the petition. The room stills as Kat reads the text aloud. Leslie has the power to authorize their expedition, and with that signature, every shadow of secrecy shatters. On the estate's eastern perimeter, Eva Thomas and Tom Navarro maneuver a sleek black SUV into the drive, its tires crunching on gravel. Inside, Eva rehearses her words to Madison, an apology for the secrecy, a promise of transparency going forward, and a vow that nobody will exploit her story. Tom, ever vigilant, scans every rearview mirror for tailing vehicles, worried that Vernon may send an emissary to intercept them. He offers a reassuring nod. We're clear. Eva inhales, her breathing steadying. As they pull away, Eva texts Ted the precise time they'll reach the hospital's secure records wing. Every keystroke carries the weight of emancipation for Madison and for Eva herself. Back at the estate, Bill Richardson emerges from the archives, clutching a battered legal tome on financial statutes. His eyes gleam with newfound determination, an obscure clause buried in post-war legislation that erases liability after 15 years if no public indictment occurs. Martin's most egregious infractions are now 19 years old. If Bill can prove that the statute applies and that no legal action was pursued in that timeframe, then every envelope of hush money and every fraudulent ledger entry could be rendered null. It is a lifeline shimmering in the mire. He grabs his phone and dials his longtime law firm's partner, Maria Chin, known for her flair with technical defenses. Bill's voice trembles with urgency. I need an emergency briefing tonight. In the city's medical archives, Eva and Tom stand before a stern clerk whose security badge gleams under fluorescent lights. The clerk examines Eva's guardianship letter, then glances at her face, empathy flickering behind the professional mask. With a nod, he invites them through a secure door. The corridor beyond hums with air filtration systems, a reminder of the confidentiality surrounding each file. Eva's pulse quickens. They reach Madison's file, and Eva's fingers tremble as she lifts the dust cover. Inside, a single sheaf of papers, hospital admission forms, her newborn footprints, a note in her mother's handwriting. Eva traces the ink. May 14, 2003, born at Mercy General Hospital. Mother, Susan Richardson, maiden name undisclosed. Eva inhales sharply, awed by the tangible proof of her cousin's lineage that Danny Dupree deliberately obscured. Tom places a hand on her shoulder. They exchange a look of shared relief. Mission accomplished. Meanwhile, at the Richardson Estate's Grand Hall, Leslie Thomas picks up her phone to sign the sealed warrant petition. A bead of sweat forms at her temple as she reflects on the moral chasm before her. By authorizing Kat's investigation, she seeks control of her own narrative in service of vindication. But the weight of potential discovery by others if she delays threatens everything. Her hand trembles, then she signs. With a decisive swipe, she sends the PDF to the municipal judge's portal. Across the miles, Kat's phone buzzes. Warrant granted. Kat exhales, adrenaline surging, as she rallies her team for the imminent raid on the city's evidence depository. Back at Bill's wing of the estate, his call with Maria Chin yields strategy. She will draft a motion tonight, citing the 2006 Financial Responsibility Act's forgiveness clause, and file it by midnight, beating the 24-hour window required to preempt any grand jury subpoena. Bill's jaw sets as he begins typing the motion. He glances at the clock, 11:03 p.m. Midnight looms, and with it, the difference between disgrace and reprieve. As the moon climbs overhead, alliances align in a delicate constellation of power. Eva and Tom return triumphant to the estate, Madison's birth certificate safely in Eva's grasp. Ted awaits them at the front door, relief flooding his features. In the drawing room, Kat, Jacob, Chelsea, and Naomi prepare for their midnight departure to the city, steeling themselves for the moral reckonings and journalistic coups that await. Leslie retreats to her private sanctuary, aware that signing the warrant may prove her most daring and perilous act yet. Bill, hunched over his laptop in the library, risks every reputation he has left on a legal technicality that might absolve him. And Vernon Dupree, back in his private chambers, senses the tremors of change. The Dupree-Richardson power struggle is about to erupt in ways nobody can yet foresee. In the stillness before dawn, as the estate settles into uneasy quiet, the threads of power, loyalty, and retribution weave themselves tighter. Eva's promise to Madison echoes in her mind, a beacon of compassion in a landscape of ambition. Kat and Jacob ready their evidence, poised to expose or exonerate. Bill braces for either salvation or ruin. And Leslie, having cast her die, can only wait to see whether her bold maneuver will safeguard her legacy or dismantle it entirely. When morning breaks, no one will remain unchanged. The gates between blood and betrayal, secrecy and revelation, will have swung wide, ushering each player into an unfolding drama more explosive than any could have predicted.